President al-Assad issues a decree for establishing a new branch for Damascus University in Quneitra. Army units deal deadly blows to terrorists in different areas in the country. Israeli aggression continues on Gaza amidst absolute Arab silence. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our news for today. President Bashar al-Assad has issued Decree number 408 of 2012 stipulating the establishment of a branch of Damascus University in al-Quneitra Governorate to be called Quneitra Branch. In its second article, the decree also stipulated that this branch would be opened according to a decision by the Minister of Higher Education on the basis of the Higher Education Council's approval and the availability of the material and human requirements. Our armed forces today continue their pursuit of terrorists who have been assaulting citizens and public and private properties in Asbani, Zamalka, Sayyida Zainab, and Atalamu neighborhoods in Damascus and its suburbs. Several terrorists were killed and their weapons were confiscated in Zamalka. All the gunmen of the so-called Damascus Liberation Battalion were killed together with their leader, terrorist Abdel Salam Idris. An army unit also clashed with a terrorist group near the new al-Husseiniya project in a Sayyida Zainab neighborhood, killing and injuring several terrorists. Another army unit destroyed a booby-trapped car near Dawar Asbani and killed and wounded terrorists in the neighborhood. An army unit today clashed with an armed terrorist group who had tried to attack law enforcement checkpoint in Tel Shur, inflicting on them heavy losses. Another army unit eliminated a number of terrorists at the eastern and southern entrances of Marat Naaman and confiscated their weapons and ammunition. Our armed forces have continued their national task in clearing several provinces of the armed terrorist groups, eliminating a large number of gunmen. In Deir ez-Zor, an army unit clashed with the terrorist group near al-Urafi Mosque in the city, killing 6 gunmen and injuring others. Another unit killed the most dangerous terrorist in the city, Abdullah Ghannam al-Majrash, commander of the so-called al-Muqtad battalion in Jubayla neighborhood. The unit also killed another terrorist nicknamed Amuna in Fuad Cinema Street. In Raqqa, an explosive device planted by a terrorist group has blown near Sayyidat al-Bishra church, killing a woman, injuring 5 citizens, and inflicting material damages on the site. A videotape has been recently broadcast on websites offering new evidence about terrorists using worshipping places as shields and hideouts from which they perpetrate their malicious crimes. It shows how they have used mosques in the Atalamu neighborhood as a base for their terrorist acts.
The armed terrorist groups in Syria have turned the houses of God from worshipping places which are expected to embrace calls for love, peace and religious tolerance into warehouses of weapons, centers of terrorism and headquarters for their criminal operations. The videotape the terrorists have recently broadcast documents their use of mosques as wall barricades from which they open fire at anyone outside after turning them into centers of terrorism crowded with armed men. The videotape clarifies the reason behind the devastation that befell numerous worshipping places in Syria that included the Umayyad Mosque in Aleppo, which was burnt by Takfiri terrorists, Abdurrahman Mosque also in Aleppo, which was targeted by mercenary terrorists with mortar shells, and Khalid ibn al-Walid Mosque in Homs. The armed terrorist groups did the same harm to numerous churches as well, like Sednaya Monastery in Damascus suburbs, the Catholic Assyria Cathedral in Homs, and the Armenian Anglican and Greek Catholic patriarchies in Aleppo. The scenes of sabotage inflicted on Islamic and Christian worshipping places in Syria reveal the bulk of the terrorist Western and Arab assault executed by al-Qaeda members and Takfiri Wahhabis against the Syrians in order to blur out their culture and brilliant heritage of civilization that has retained its glory since the dawn of history.
Former member of the British Parliament, George Galloway, said that the only way to resolve the crisis in Syria is through dialogue among all Syrian people, explaining that the West and some Arab and regional countries do not want any solution to the crisis in Syria. In an interview with Russia Today TV channel, Galloway said that the US and its servants in the region, such as Saudi Arabia and Qatar, are further escalating the crisis in Syria as they pay money and provide weapons to the terrorists. Mr. Galloway pointed out that the Turkish government works as a servant to the West and the region, seeking to join the European Union. Galloway described Russia's stand towards Syria as wise and right. Iran renewed its full support of Syria. Iran's advisor of the Supreme Leader for International Affairs, Ali Akbar Wilayati, said that some reactionary Arab countries have let mercenaries of al-Qaeda enter into Syria. They distributed money to kill civilians, and this is unacceptable. He pointed out that more than 90% of those who fight the government and people in Syria are not Syrians. Wilayati asserted that Syria has become stronger 20 months after the beginning of the events in it. Lebanese Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah affirmed the need for a political solution to the crisis in Syria, renewing the necessity for preserving resistance against the Israeli occupation. Nasrallah pointed out in a speech on Martyrs' Day that dialogue among the Lebanese factions on setting up a defense strategy without excluding other political parties is a paramount duty. On the Syrian issue, Mr. Nasrallah said the Syrian opposition parties, which are meeting in Doha, have consensus on rejecting dialogue and the political solution, which means that they want more fighting and destruction in the interest of the US and Israel. Finally, in occupied Palestine, the death toll among Palestinians following Israeli air raids has risen to 7, following the death of Muhammad al-Qanu of wounds he sustained earlier when Israeli planes shelled eastern Gaza with rockets. At least 40 other people were wounded. Israeli warjets also shelled Al-Karama area and the electricity station in the region. On the West Bank, Israeli occupation troops broke into the villages and cities of the West Bank, arresting 11 people. With this, we conclude our news bulletin for today. For more information about Syria and the region, you can visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy.